Hey guys, this is Teslin Figueroa, your chief political correspondent. I am sitting here with one of your favorites that we have in Congress. So glad to have her here, Representative Jasmine Crockett, representing the 30th Congressional District in the great state of Texas.
Yeah.
I'm glad to have you.
I'm happy to be here.
You are a surrogate for Vice President Harris's campaign.
Yeah.
So we do see some momentum now. We see the energy, we see the excitement. Talk a little bit about, though, how that momentum has to actually translate into actual votes. And how can that be done?
She's the first Black woman nominated to a major party. So that's great. But we have work to do. So I don't want people to mistake excitement for a win.
Right.
Excitement is like the first base. When I'm looking at an election, we got to get all the way home.
There's been a lot of questions around VP Harris's blackness. we wanted to get your thoughts.
Yeah, because she just turned black.
Yeah, she just turned black, according to former President Trump, who said it in front of, again, NABJ.
A bunch of Black folks.
A bunch of Black folks. Tell us about that. Where is that coming from? Because it's not just President Trump. Let's be honest. It's not just him talking about it. I've seen a lot of folks who question it, who make videos about it.
You know, it's interesting because one thing that I think Trump is really good at doing is making sure that he employs the tactics that were used during slavery, right? Like, so long as you keep us separated and we're not united, then you can better control. And that's what they did during slavery. So just like, you know, there used to be issues with color, and we still have issues with color, right? This kind of comes down to a little bit of that. You know, there's always been a challenge of your Blackness if for some reason you weren't, say, my color or darker, right? And so that's what she's experiencing. But we've all known forever, if you got a drop of Black blood, that the rule has always been you were Black, because she can't hide it. You can look at her, you can tell that she is Black. And so, you know, he wants to rile people up with that nonsense. He is full of distractions.
We know she's not white. That would, at least I tell people that one thing for sure, we can all agree that she's definitely not a white woman.
But she's Black. Y'all need to go look at her daddy. She is Black, like, end of story. But why are we wasting our time talking about that? Because does it really matter if she's Black, white, Asian, Hispanic? I don't really care. What I care about is what types of policies are you trying to deliver for me and mine? That should be the question. That should be the conversation. And so long as Trump throws out all these distractions, that's telling you that he does not have a plan to help you if you're struggling with your grocery store bill, if you're struggling with your gas bill, if you're struggling with making enough money on your job. He doesn't have a plan for that. So instead, he's going to distract you with all this other nonsense.
A lot of Black men feel left out of this process, you know, because we talk about Black girl magic and we talk about Black women being the backbone of the Democrat Party. And President Trump has talked about, and this is one of my issues is always going to be mass incarceration, police brutality, has talked about, you know, immunity for all police
officers.
The stop and frisk. Talk a little bit about how that falls into Project 2025 and what should Black men be paying attention to. If you don't like VP Harris, fine. You don't like Joe Biden, fine. If you like, what should they pay attention on Project 2025 when it comes to that?
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, there's a couple of things. So, number one, Trump specifically has said that he wants them to have immunity, them being police officers. That's why when he was at NABJ, he was asked about it. Because when he goes to his rallies that are lily white and have a few random Black folk that I argue are probably paid to be there, this is what he said, but he doesn't really want to talk about it in depth when he is asked about it. And nobody on Fox News is going to ask him these questions. That's just the reality. So my question is, if you do care about criminal justice in this country, which I think if you're a person of color, you have to care, because we have all either experienced incarceration or we know somebody that's experienced incarceration. And some of the times it's been very questionable about their incarceration. Not to mention, you know, it's just like we talk about as Black folk having the talk with our children.
Right.
So when you can see that a mother has called into law enforcement, has explained her mental health situation, has said, please don't send anybody who is prejudiced because she understands what can happen to her child. And then even with all the warnings that were made on that 911 call, They go in, they send somebody who never should have been employed in the first place. And what does he do? He shoots her in her face. He shoots her in her head. And for him to say, well, I don't really know about that case. Well, wait a minute. Well, was it the water?
Right.
Like, seriously?
Right.
Like, this is a guy that you would consider employing to this position as we are still struggling with police brutality in this country. It is just astounding to me, because you don't have to trust what I say. Go and listen to him. This is what he has pushed. And when we look at things like the George Floyd and Policing and Justice Act, we tried to get that over the hump. It came out of the House when the Democrats controlled the House. But you know what? You couldn't find a Republican senator to get on board to make sure that we could get it passed. Our lives are not valued. So, like, I wish we could have real conversations around policy, but for some reason, we keep getting distracted because the policies don't align. Like, if you literally didn't put up the faces of who said what, and you just put the policies up,
Right.
I can guarantee you they would vote for Kamala Harris in a heartbeat because they don't agree with his policies. And if we focus on the policies, we can start to move the needle. You know, you and I were talking a little bit earlier about Sheila Jackson Lee. Sheila Jackson Lee just died. But when I tell you that woman filed for reparations over and over and over and over, when I tell you that she filed to get Juneteenth over and over and over until it happens, I need us to just start having real conversations with everybody that's trying to get your vote, whether they're black, white, or otherwise. You need to talk to them about what are the policies that you're pushing forward with and how will that affect my life. And when it comes to criminal justice, I'm sorry. I know a lot of people talk about how Trump was letting people out of prison. He was letting people out of prison because he was trying to get his homies out. Like, that's what that was. He wasn't necessarily saying, well, this is going to help the black ones, right? Like, he was out there trying to change it up because so many of his people have been arrested.